new divines have just been revealed. So do you remember before when we saw that little bow on a little pedestal and some stars in the sky? Well, it turns out that the players were correct, and we have the brand new Artemis and Newt dragons coming to DML in the new upcoming Divine Fest 2. So we got this little preview slash teaser video, I guess you could call it, where it showcases the eggs and the forms of these two new dragons. So if we go and watch this quickly, you'll see it says, introducing the Artemis Dragon, who looks kind of like a massive deer to me. Like a massive deer. It's got like the antlers and everything, and the wings just look like big antlers. Kind of interesting design, I guess, idea for this dragon. Which, you know, it is that. And then this, of course, is Newt. And I think Newt is probably one of the nicest looking divines that's actually in game. Newt just has so many colours going on, a nice little pattern, and you know, it's got the stars on its stomach and its wings. Very pretty looking dragon. So, of course, Artemis is the Greek-themed dragon, Newt being one of the Egyptian-themed ones, but we should have more coming in the event. These are just two of the new dragons, and then it says coming soon to Dragonlandia. So these are the two dragons for you to expect during Divine Fest 2 of the new ones. And I said these are the two that, you know, are definitely coming, but we might have some old Egyptian and Greek dragons coming back. So the question is, who else is coming on top of these guys? But it does say that the Divine Fest begins August 16th at 12 PM GMT. But going from the top, it says Divine Fest Marble and Sand, revealing the two new divines of the upcoming Marble and Sand Divine event, Artemis and Newt. While Artemis is an able hunter, it spends most of its time among the forests of Dragonlandia, where it protects the wild creatures. And then Newt is revealed as the divine protector of souls and a shepherd for the heavenly bodies that traverse the night sky. So, August 16th, which is a little bit of time, I suppose, for everyone to get prepared, get their dungeon teams ready and such. But, you know, a lot of dragons could technically be coming back. If we just check through the old divines and the divines that I've got, for example, you know, there's a few Egyptian dragons they could bring back. There's a few Greek dragons they could bring back. So, hoping to see some returns of some old dragons, maybe some dragons that haven't been available in a while, and maybe people are really close to getting the pieces for, like what happened with Chang. We'll see when the event comes out, but I don't know, what do you think overall? Do you like the designs of these two new dragons? Again, Artemis just looks like a deer. It's kind of like, yeah, that's a dragon, but I really like Newt overall, comparatively. My question is this going to be the same as it was for collecting Longwang and Freya? As in, do we need to collect these two dragons specifically, the new ones, in order to unlock, say, Hathor? Because it's possible Hathor could come back, as, you know, the same way that Freya did. As in, you collect the other two, and then you unlock Freya, sort of thing. Well, I guess we'll have to see, won't we? But, you know, lots of potential things could be happening in the next upcoming event. We don't have any details yet, of course. I'm sure they'll give away some, but probably not all of them until the event actually comes out. But at least now you know what to expect, you know what's happening, and you can prep yourself in advance. So, of course, the prep that you should be doing is, if you can, level out your team. Make sure you've got all those dungeon dragon bits that you're gonna need, like earth, water, blah blah blah. I've said it multiple times this week, but you know, if you're someone that's been steamrolling the map to try and get as much food and resources, make sure your team's as level as you can make it before the event, because that's going to be the best way for you to make sure you've got the best chance of getting all the dragons in the event. But aside from that, not really much else that you can do. Because again, until we get the numbers and until we actually see the event itself, we're not really going to know what we're going to need to do. So, well, I guess good luck. If you really want Newt, and if you really want the other dragon, Artemis, if you don't have a good team for it, it'll be tougher, and you may have to just choose between a specific dragon or a few if you, again, don't have a very good team for it. And in that case, be willing to make some choices. I will say that during last Divine Fest, people made some really bad choices. As in, lots of players that didn't have any other dragons picked Chang instead of going for the other more useful options, and it completely ruined their team. As in, if your only divine is Chang, you're gonna have a bad time. And I kind of feel bad for everyone that did that, because it's like, they were trying to do the right thing, right? They played the event, they knew they needed a divine. But you've got to think about the elements, you've got to think about the stats of the dragons, because like Chang, super low HP, pretty high damage, for example, but at the same time, the elements on Chang just aren't very useful. Shadow and energy, you could argue energy is kind of useful for dealing with, you know, shields and buffed dragons, but compared to how useful some of the other elements are in game, it's not the same. Like, you're not gonna get as much use out of Chang as you would a Freya. So I guess at that point, the question is, what do you value more? The designs of the dragon, and you don't care if your team's slightly worse? Or do you actually care about having a good team? I feel like a lot of people that cared about having a good team didn't know how to make the right choices last time, and it kind of boned them a little bit. A few people actually left the game because Changi was such a bad choice in the end compared to what they could have had. So, coming from experience of last time, when we actually had the choice of which dragons to go for, which we may or may not have that choice this time, we'll have to wait and see until the event comes out. But if we do, please think about it before you start making just wild choices and just throwing random dragons into your team. Just because it has divine in it doesn't mean it's the best choice for you. As in, if you have to choose between a legendary and a divine, 99% of the time the divine's probably the better choice. But if you have a choice between multiple divines, the elements actually really matter. So that's my pre-warning to you today. I hope that if you were unsure about why people picked or didn't pick Changi before, now you have more of an idea. But it's just about, you can choose any dragon in the game that you want. No one can really stop you. It's just the only person that's going to potentially suffer at the end of the day for the choice is you. Like, if you want to pick the worst dragons in the game and use commons and refuse to use the divine element, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you, but you're probably going to have a much more difficult time in-game than someone that does use those things. So, make the choice, do what you want to do, but don't get salty at other people that actually succeed more because they made a better team overall, you know, took all of these things into account. So it happens in a lot of games, happens a lot in DML as well, where players like to blame other people for their own poor team management skills. But it's to be expected, some people just don't pay attention, right? But either way, if we can get another exception divine in the game, that may also open up a lot of possibilities for some newer players in that regard as well. Like, if you can get a Hathor in, and again, because of Shadow, Hathor is kind of an iffy pick. It's just like how Freya was a slightly iffy pick, because wind and plant these days is really not the best selection of elements, but them just having such high base stats makes her bless really strong. And because Hathor does have light, if they do end up coming back, then Hathor could actually have some really good usage. At least it fills that bless and the AoE slot in a dungeon team, right? But those are my early thoughts and just minor ramblings regarding the upcoming event. I'm sure there'll be more on the way, and maybe we'll get some teasers as to who else is returning during this event. But all I can really say is get yourself prepped. Make sure your team is prepared and get your mental in the game ready for the 16th. But for now, thank you for joining me, and until next time, have fun.